Yesterday, the Jaguars played the Texans, and what happened to Trevor Lawrence was as scary as it was shameful, and it was completely avoidable. There's a player on the Texans named Azeez Al-Shaair, and if you haven't seen the video, Google it, YouTube it. Trevor Lawrence was running, and he had the ball, obviously, and it was a run play. He was scrambling, but for a gain, and he goes down to slide. The rule in football is for a quarterback or for any player, frankly, but really it protects the quarterback. When you go into a slide position, the ball is marked where you start the slide, and that's it. There's no touching the player. He's down. You don't have to tackle him. You don't have to put your hand on him to make sure he can't get up again. When you start the sliding process, the play's over. This Texans player was running toward the quarterback full speed, and Trevor Lawrence started to slide, and the player couldn't hold back, didn't want to hold back, wasn't able to hold back, query, slid into, not slid into, the defensive player went head first into Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence ended up back on his head, concussion. He went into the fencing position. They said, I couldn't really tell from the video, but it did not look good. He then went into the tent, into the cart, done. Meanwhile, there was a fight. And the fight happened between, obviously, Jaguars players who were running to the defense of Lawrence, going after the Texans players. You're going to hear from Roger Goodell and other people in the NFL, and I'd like to give them a suggestion before they open their mouths about this, because they talk about wanting to protect the quarterback, and they talk about rule changes that are designed where if you touch the quarterback, it's roughing the passer. All sorts of different rules have been put in place. I've got another one because I'm very annoyed by the concept of offsetting penalties. If you're not a football fan, you may not focus on it, so I'll just explain it quickly. If you commit a penalty, let's say you rough the passer. Let's say you have a personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct. That would generally be 15 yards for the other team. So if you're on offense and you commit a penalty, you get pushed back 15 yards. If you're on defense and you commit it, that means the offense gets to advance 15 yards. It's a big deal. That's 15% of the entire field. But in the Texans case, and in many cases in football, there's a concept called offsetting penalties, which means if one team does something and then the other team does something on the same play, it's offset, replay the down as though nothing happened. But there's no conversation about what the levels are of the penalties. You can have holding on one side and you can have roughing on the other, offsetting. Personal foul, illegal formation, offsetting. Everything's offsetting. I don't quite understand that. I've got a new rule that I'd like to make, that anytime a quarterback is hit, if you really want to protect the quarterback, and stop with these fencing concussions where your players are going to get old and end their lives early, if not purposefully, then for all intents and purposes, have them ended early. You really care about the health of your players, which, query, there are cogent arguments to be made that the NFL does not care, but I digress. But if you want to feign caring, how about this? Anytime the quarterback has a penalty upon him, whether it's through roughing when he's in the pocket, whether it's a late hit when he's running, anytime there is a penalty against a quarterback, definitionally, it cannot have an offsetting component. Well, let's think about that, David, because if someone roughs the passer, then the offense is going to advance 15 yards, but the offensive players are going to come to the rescue, and they're going to be real men, and they're going to go after the defensive players. And if they know they can't get penalized or they can't lose the 15 yards, then what would stop them from just an all-out brawl, beating the crap out of the defensive player? I thought you'd think of that. I've got the answer. There's no offsetting penalties. The offense gets 15 yards. But any offensive player who goes after a defensive player, physically, punching, fighting, automatic ejection. Automatic. In the Texans game, the one who got ejected was the one who made the hit. Al-Shaair ejected from the game. I am happy to eject every offensive lineman, every wide receiver, every running back, everything. The NBA did it. No one cared. You can't leave the bench during a fight. That's the rule in the NBA. Hard stop. If you walk off the bench during an on-court fight, you are suspended. Done. It's like sticky stuff in baseball. It's done. I tried to get the rule passed in baseball 1,000 times. Don't let the bullpen people leave the bullpen. The union would never allow it because the union brothers had to stick up for each other. When there's a melee going on the pitcher's mound, the bullpen arms want to get out there and they want to run side by side, looking at each other, saying, yeah, we're about to fight. We got 100 yards. Don't go so fast. I'm out of breath. All right, we're on the mound. Now let's fight. Baseball could do this automatic ejection stuff. So could football. Automatic. Any retaliation against a player who goes after the quarterback is an automatic ejection. Anybody who goes after the quarterback, you're ejected. Your team is penalized. The team is fined. How about that? We'll keep adding. I'll keep adding stuff all day long. I'll go full Lionel Richie. I'll go 24 hours. Except the NFL is loath to do something that could impact the quality of play that particular game or the next particular game. They don't like suspending players, whether it's for drugs, for steroids, for behavior. They're not big fans of it. You really have to do something egregious. I'm not going to get into the compare game of what's egregious because God knows the off-field behavior of some of these players puts the E in egregious. But if you're serious about protecting your players, then protect them. I'm going to give you an official wait to see, Coca. Wait to see. There will be a rule change in the NFL. When a quarterback is hit in the head, there will not be offsetting penalties. And you can book it.